a state-of-the-art tank of cryogenic rocket fuel, loses up to 35% of its volume to evaporation in the first year of a deep space mission. This isn't a leak that can be patched. It is a consequence of thermodynamic laws that creates a persistent challenge for long-duration missions, necessitating a precise balance between storage duration and mission velocity. The numbers on the screen were an inevitable system failure. The quiet dread in the observation room was a stark contrast to the silent, relentless physical degradation unfolding in the simulation, where a lone fuel depot tumbled through the void between Earth and Mars. Every 3 seconds, the internal temperature of the liquid hydrogen climbed by another 10,000th of a degree. It was a change so small as to be meaningless. Yet, it was the ticking of a clock that could not be stopped, a manifestation of the Second Law of Thermodynamics, representing a significant engineering hurdle for deep space exploration. This was the problem given the chillingly accurate moniker inside NASA, the Cryogenic Ghost. It wasn't a leak or a malfunction, but a fundamental assault by the cosmos. Space was not empty, it was a sea of radiation, and the sun was a relentless furnace. Each photon striking the depot's exterior transfers a minute amount of thermal energy, transferring just enough energy to excite a single hypercold molecule of LH2. One by one, molecule by molecule, the liquid was agitated into a gas. This relentless process was the heart of the challenge facing the cryogenic propellant storage and transfer initiative. A thermodynamic siege with no possibility of truce. The fuel itself was a captive struggling against its bonds. Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen are cryogenic fluids that require extreme temperatures to remain in a liquid state, unlike water, which is liquid at standard pressure and temperature. They were gases, cooled to within a few degrees of absolute zero, and forced into a dense, volatile state. To call this cryogenic rocket fuel was to acknowledge its temporary nature. It yearned to boil, to expand, to reclaim its gaseous form with explosive energy. The tank was not a container so much as a prison, and the Ghost was the slow, methodical picking of the lock. On the main display, a graph tracked the boil-off rate against the mission's required delta V. The two lines had started far apart, but the green line representing available thrust was now in a terminal decline, destined to cross a red line of mission impossibility long before the virtual craft reached its destination. Each atom of evaporated LH2 or LOX was a theft of momentum, a direct reduction in the mission's ability to push, to turn, to stop. It was a quiet, invisible hemorrhage of potential, dissipating into the vacuum. The greatest enemy of interplanetary travel was not distance or meteors, but the simple, unyielding fact that you couldn't keep your fuel cold enough. The mission faces the constant challenge of entropy, as ambient thermal energy gradually degrades the stored propellant. The engineering response to the Ghost was a fortress of human ingenuity. In the sterile quiet of a design lab, schematics for the proposed countermeasures covered a massive wall screen, a testament to the refusal to surrender. The first layer of defense was a thing of gossamer thinness and incredible complexity. Multi-layer insulation, or MLI. It was, in essence, the most advanced thermos ever conceived, a wrapping of dozens of hair-thin, aluminized sheets separated by a near-perfect vacuum. Each layer was a shield, designed to reflect thermal radiation back into the void, and on paper, the solution was elegant. Yet, the engineers felt a suffocating sense of irony as they modeled the design. To add another layer of MLI was to add mass, and to add mass was to demand more from the very cryogenic rocket fuel they were trying to save. It was a strategy of recursive trade-offs, where the mission's armor was forged from its own lifeblood, each sheet of protection making the vessel heavier and thirstier. Increasing shielding thickness eventually reaches a point of diminishing returns, where the added mass significantly impacts the vehicle's thrust-to-weight ratio. When the passive defenses proved insufficient, the active systems were brought to bear. These were cryocoolers, compact and ferociously complex refrigerators that would actively pump heat out of the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks. They were the brute force solution, a direct mechanical assault on the second law of thermodynamics. A simulation ran, this time, with the cooler integrated into the depot systems. The boil-off rate for the LH2 and LOX flatlined, approaching the mythical goal of zero. A fleeting, fragile sense of victory filled the room. But then the full system analysis populated the screen, and the hope curdled into a familiar, metallic taste of despair. The cryocooler, its power source, and its radiators added tons to the mission's manifest. The Delta-V budget, the currency of orbital mechanics, collapsed. The depot could now preserve its cryogenic fuel with near-perfect efficiency, but it had become an inert, immovable monument to its own preservation. This was the cruel paradox at the heart of the cryogenic propellant storage and transfer program. Every kilogram dedicated to saving the fuel was a kilogram stolen from the payload or the engine's power. The team at NASA was trapped in a thermodynamic catch-22, fighting a war where the cost of every victory was the mission itself. The problem now had a scale that dwarfed any single piece of hardware. The grim calculus of boil-off was no longer confined to a single tank, but was now being applied to the entire architecture of interplanetary exploration, and the results were suffocatingly bleak. On a holographic display mapping the inner solar system, the elegant, arcing trajectories of planned missions were annotated with rapidly decaying percentages of remaining fuel. The dream of a permanent logistics network of orbital depots waiting to refuel ships bound for the outer planets was dissolving under the silent, patient assault of thermodynamics. This inescapable evaporation of cryogenic rocket fuel placed the entire endeavor on a thermodynamic leash. Mission planners at NASA could no longer think of fuel as a stable resource to be stockpiled. The liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen were a perishable commodity with an unforgiving expiration date, forcing a use it or lose it philosophy that rippled through every decision. Launch windows were no longer just about optimal orbital mechanics. They were frantic sprints against the clock. A Mars-bound vessel couldn't be assembled and fueled in Earth orbit over several months. It had to be launched and sent on its way in a mad dash, because every day spent waiting was a day the Ghost fed on its potential, siphoning away precious Delta-V. The grand vision of Orbital Gas Station, the core of the cryogenic propellant storage and transfer program, was the greatest casualty. The concept was simple: launch massive depots of LH2 and LOX to a stable parking orbit, creating a supply chain that broke the tyranny of launching everything from Earth's deep gravity well. But the physics of boil-off turned these depots into cosmic ice cubes, melting under a heat lamp. A depot launched with a full load of cryogenic fuel would be critically depleted before the first ship even arrived to use it. The supply chain would evaporate before it could be established. This reality tethered humanity's ambitions directly to the planet's surface. Every mission had to be a monolithic, brute force affair, carrying every drop of fuel it would ever need from the moment it left the ground. It was the equivalent of trying to explore a continent with no possibility of resupply, forced to carry all your food and water for the entire journey on your back, from the very first step. The leash was invisible, woven from the fundamental laws of heat transfer, but it was stronger than any steel cable. It held humanity in low orbit, allowing for brief excursions but always pulling it back, ensuring that any journey too far from Earth would end with a ship full of empty, useless tanks. The countdown to mission failure began not at liftoff, but the moment the fuel was created. In the end, the challenge isn't about building a better rocket. It's about confronting a universe that is fundamentally hostile to our ambitions. That slow, silent evaporation we started with isn't just a loss of fuel. It's the sound of the cosmos whispering that the price of leaving home might be higher than we can ever pay. This isn't a leak we can simply patch, but a fundamental condition of our existence we must either accept or transcend. That conflict between our grandest dreams and the unyielding laws of physics is what we explore here at Dissect Official. The impossible choices these engineers face, are a constant, agonizing weight on the future of exploration. So, we want to know what you think. Faced with this paradox, would you approve a mission with minimal shielding, gambling on speed to reach a destination before the fuel evaporates? Or would you insist on a heavier, perfectly insulated vessel that might never have the delta V to complete its most daring objectives? Thank you for joining us for this dissection. It's a heavy realization that our greatest leash is not technology but the universe itself. But what if there was a way to defy that law? Next time, we investigate the radical new systems being designed to achieve the impossible: zero boil-off.